Israel was founded despite the Holocaust, not because of the Holocaust. It's not about the safe haven. It's about coming home.
You're listening to Inside Israel Today with Gil Hoffman on the Land of Israel Network.
Hello and welcome to Inside Israel Today, where I'm honored to have on my show Naftali Bennett, Israel's Minister of Education, the head of the Bayit Yehudi party, and a member of Israel's Security Cabinet, telling us what's really going on. This interview with Naftali Bennett ran in the Jerusalem Post on Friday and also here on my radio show. So here's my interview with Naftali Bennett, conducted at his office in the Education Ministry in Jerusalem. Naftali Bennett, I've written recently that you, in effect, have become the Prime Minister without holding the title, and that Netanyahu caved into your demands about not advancing the election when you warned him against toppling a right-wing government for personal reasons, about the migrant worker issue, Elor Azaria. I'm sure you can come up with many more little things, and perhaps it's even possible that the attack on the Iranian base in Syria was also as a result of a certain speech that I attended that you made. What does it feel like to be the Prime Minister of Israel?
Obviously, I deeply respect the Prime Minister. However, I am very happy that we are realizing our policies. I came to politics in order to bring about my values and beliefs, and I'm happy that we can be the iron spine or the steel spine of the government on most major issues. And just imagine what it would look like without a strong Bayit Yehudi.
What would it look like without your party being there?
Well, actually, we saw what it looked like. The government of Netanyahu's first government of 2009 to 2012, it's not his first government, you know what I mean.
It's for when he came back to power.
Yeah, released over 1,000 terrorists who murdered Jews. Froze all building beyond the Green Line in Jerusalem. Caved into radical activism, judicial activism, and was very hesitant vis-a-vis showing force against our enemies. It also, together with Olmert's first government, the two governments of 2006 and 2012, allowed a tiny Hezbollah organization to build up massively and acquire 130,000 rockets. This approach of allowing enemies to build up on our borders is something that we will not accept again. We won't make the same mistake that was made. We won't make the same mistake with Iran and Syria as the mistake that was made with Hezbollah in Lebanon.
So, when you threatened Netanyahu to not topple a government for personal reasons just last month, and people don't even remember what the issue was related to the ultra-Orthodox draft issue, he listened to you, and now there's talk that Netanyahu still will try to initiate an election in September that theoretically be about issues related to the Supreme Court, but really will be about him not wanting to have the Attorney General make a decision about his cases before elections are initiated, which could be the reason why he considered moving up the election to June before. So are you going to stop him again?
Toppling a good national government for no good reason is unacceptable. We're here to govern. It takes ministers about a year to really understand their ministry deeply and be able to be effective. Rapid election cycles are not a sign of a strong democracy. Therefore, if we want to govern, we should just govern.
Are you afraid that he will try to move up the election again?
You need to ask Netanyahu. I don't know. I hope not.
Is Netanyahu corrupt?
I believe not. I've known him for 12 years. There's a lot that I learned from him and am learning from him. I hope and believe that he will put the best interest of Israel ahead of any personal interests.
You mentioned in December that you saw yourself as Prime Minister after Netanyahu. Don't you have to join the Likud in order to be the Prime Minister of Israel?
It's true that the current structure of Beit Yehudi needs to change and needs to become all Israeli and not a sectorial party. That's a challenge for me to do. I do not desire to lead a sectorial party. When I was CEO at a high-tech company, my employees were not necessarily Dati'im, were mostly not Dati'im. When I was a unit commander in the commando, my soldiers were not Dati'im. And when I wake up in the morning, I think about all of the Israeli students and not of the Dati'im only. But I would say the challenge is mine to deliver.
It's important for us in the Jerusalem Post, unlike other publications, to focus on your role as a diaspora affairs minister. And that's one of the reasons you're going to be speaking at the Jerusalem Post conference, where the Diaspora Affairs Ministry is actually co-sponsoring the conference. It's been nonstop talk over the last 5 days about a Hollywood actress and her deciding not to come to Israel and to turn down $2 million because of the policies of the very government that you're sitting in. Does she really matter?
Diaspora Jews matter. A single actress does not matter much, but 8 million Jews in the diaspora should be of utmost importance for the state of Israel. In fact, as a prime minister, I would prioritize the future of Jewish diaspora as one of the top 3 missions for the state of Israel. That's how important I think it should be.
You could say the other two.
Israel's security, Israel's social and polarization, and reducing
socioeconomic polarization in Israel.
No, both. It's 2 things, but reducing social gaps and polarization. Those are my top 3.
And so you see her as a representative of diaspora Jewry, or as your typical, perhaps, left-wing American progressive Jew, and therefore do her words of criticism merit a response?
I actually like Natalie Portman's and her movies. I don't want to typify what an American Jew is. There's so many different streams, and my main concern is that the younger generation is losing interest in its own Judaism and in its connection to Israel. And for the past 100 years, Jews in America saw Israel as their project. I think it's our turn to see American Jews as Israel's project and to join forces and develop the next 50 years together. I actually think that Israel should invest considerable funds in it, Israeli taxpayer money, to connect and strengthen American Jews, even if many of them are not going to make Aliyah.
And what about her comment that Israel was created as a haven for Holocaust survivors?
That's a profound falsehood. Israel was founded despite the Holocaust, not because of the Holocaust. Ancient nationalist aspirations have been around for over 3,000 years and 2,000 years in the diaspora. Modern Zionism started in the 1880s. The massive build-up for the Jewish state started way before the Holocaust. But it's even deeper. She got it wrong even deeper. Israel's purpose is not only a safe haven. First and foremost, it's the home of the Jews. According to that logic, if there's a nice, beautiful, safe place, say, in Australia, then we should all move to Australia. But there's a reason that when Herzl promoted Uganda as a potential Jewish state, the entire Jewish world pushed back on him, even on Herzl. They said it's not about the safe haven. It's about coming home. Finally, I'll say, think of a tree that can only thrive in a certain soil. That's Jews and Israel. The Jews can only fulfill the Jewish destiny, the national Jewish destiny, in the land of Israel.
Her statements have been seen as evidence of a growing rift between Israel and young American Jews that was exacerbated by the Kotel issue, the conversion issue, which has come back to the court again. Also, Israel is giving a chance to Donald Trump. American Jews are not, statistically, if they're not Orthodox. How do we fix that rift?
Indeed, it's complicated. And the way to deal with it is to understand that we're one family, and these are debates within a family. And now let's talk. I think there is a disconnect between the Israeli public and the some of the American Jews. The most effective means of bridging the gap is physically coming to Israel, talking, visiting. We know that folks who have been even on Taglit Birthright, which is only about 10 days, fundamentally become more connected and feel much more of a family. And then you can continue debating, but it's within the confounds of a family. I think the Israeli government has to be more sensitive and aware of diaspora Jews. And that's part of my job. My job is externally connecting Jews to Israel, but domestically connecting Israelis to the diaspora.
What is the significance of having that embassy here in Jerusalem? Why is it such a big deal that it's here and not an hour away from here?
It's a strategic and historic move of, and we have deep gratitude to the president. It proves that Israel is gaining legitimacy and acceptance without having to carve out and hand over parts of our country. It also internalizes in the minds of our enemies the fact that Israel is here to stay. And ironically, paradoxically, it actually enhances chances for peace, because never was there going to be peace predicated on dividing Jerusalem. And by taking that off the table, you actually increase the chances of ultimate peace in the long term.
I said at the beginning of the interview that you delivered a speech a few months ago. This is the time to stop hitting the tentacles and to start hitting Iran itself. And when you said that, people said, oh, it's far-fetched. What has it been, 2 months? And according to foreign sources, Israel attacked foreign sources such as the New York Times. Israel attacked the T4 Iran base in Syria for the third time 3 weeks ago. Was this a result of your pressure in the Security Cabinet to attack the head of that octopus?
The policy I'm promoting is one that should have been adopted a decade ago, but it's important that it be adopted now. Iran is playing chess and is threatening our population centers through Hezbollah in Lebanon, through Hamas in Gaza. Yet it sits immune, supposedly immune, over 1,000 kilometers away in Iran. This is a asymmetric situation which we need to fix. They need to understand that if Israel is threatened, so is Iran. And I'm always happy that the government adopts the correct policies.
The Security Cabinet. Like, you're sitting in the Security Cabinet, you say this, and then they approve it. Like, I'm happy when the government does what I want. Did it directly happen because of your pressure?
I cannot comment on the specific events in the cabinet. I can only say that just like in Tzuk Eitan and in many other major security, national security issues, I'll continue to press to implement policies I believe in.
Okay, so what are you advocating for next? Still, Iran having a significant involvement there in Syria. You've got the May 12th deadline coming up for Iran. Well, what's your next push, Naftali Bennett? Make it through the Jerusalem Post.
I think that the current policies of the Security Cabinet are correct. I fully back all of the decisions of the past half year.
And looking forward?
One more thing I'd say is that the Security Cabinet, 2 years ago, I asked to upgrade the functionality of the cabinet, the way it was handled, and I'm happy to say, mission accomplished.
Yeah,
yes.
You're getting your briefings.
It's much more. The Security Cabinet is today the supreme, effective tool for national security policy and strategy, and the quality and depth of decision making is good.
You have this important role in the Security Cabinet that's functioning so well after you pushed for it, and you got everything, and you got so many of the things that you wanted. You're going to lose it all for something that Israelis, let alone American readers of the Jerusalem Post, don't understand, called Piskat Hitgabrut, that we translate as an overriding clause in the Jerusalem Post.
This is perhaps the most important bill in the past 25 years.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I'll explain.
Readers, an hour before sitting here, the Bayed party put out a threat that if the overriding clause is not passed in a week and a half, that the Naftali Bennett will topple the government and initiate an election over it.
I'll explain. During the past 25 years, the Supreme Court has radically encroached on the government's authority to govern. Time and again, it cancels bills that the Knesset legislates. So when you want to expel a terrorist, they tell you, a terrorist who murdered, they tell you can't. When you want to use security means to fight terror, they tie your hands. When you enact tax bills, they cancel them. And they have it wrong. The Supreme Court is not a government on top of above a government. The Supreme Court should defend, in very extreme cases, defend human rights when they are extremely damaged and when there is tyranny. But they've turned themselves into a second opinion authority. And I'll remind everyone that the millions of Israelis elected a government. They didn't elect the 3 judges to conduct and form policy. That's our job. And if we don't do a good job, let the voter replace us. So this clause will restore reasonable balance between the Supreme Court and the government, and it's long overdue. I'd also add that the Prime Minister signed an agreement with me and explicitly committed to passing this bill. I expect promises must be kept. I can send you the document.
When's it from again?
הסכם קואליציוני.
Oh, from 3 years ago. A lot of things in there aren't kept.
No, most have.
Oh, yeah?
And we've asked him again and again.
Do you have a last message to the listeners to the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com?
Yes. Israelis must stay united. We can't let internal division erode our national strength. It's okay and that we debate, that we argue. We are Jews after all. But if we want to continue to thrive, if we want a strong Israel, we have to be like Miriam Peretz. We have to love each other and understand that we're all one family. This is Naftali Bennett, and you're on the Land of Israel Network.
Thank you very much.
Yalla, toda Gil, toda Rabba. This was great. Yofi.
That was Naftali Bennett, Israel's Minister of Education, the chairman of the Bayit Yehudi Party, and a member of the Security Cabinet. And this was Inside Israel Today. Thank you for being with us, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll have another great show next week. Shalom from Jerusalem.
Who are we as a people? Who are we as a nation? What does it mean to be a Jew in the land of Israel, as a Jew in Judea? What is our message to the world? We're finally back in our land, and we get to ask these questions.
Ezrat Hashem, we're going to make Judea and Samaria an issue for the entire world, to know that the Jews have a place in the world.
Israel Inspired with Aryeh Bromwitz and Jeremy Gimpel on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.